From Los Angeles to a worldwide audience, this is Boaz Power TV, where we take your life to the next level. Now, internationally known speaker and author, here's Boaz.
Hi, welcome to the Power Show. You are part of the Power Nation, and I'm delighted that you're here. Because here we help you improve your attitude, your relationships, your finances, and your career as we take your life to the next level. One of the things I teach people all over the world in my seminars is when people ask you, how's business, how's life? Use one word with enthusiasm: unbelievable. Nobody will know what you're up to, but they'll think you're doing great. This is episode number 209 and on Boaz Power TV, and I call this one Something the Lord Made. His mother was so sure she was having a girl that she named him Vivian. Although as an adult, he was a capable carpenter and created some amazing mosaic floor emblems in wood, he was let go by his foreman when work was slow in Nashville. His next job was to clean out the research labs at Vanderbilt University. The doctor who hired him would soon notice him reading medical journals. His goal from childhood had been to become a doctor. It didn't matter that he was black and that his story took place during the time of segregation. Although he'd been saving money for medical school for 7 years, the local bank failed and he lost all of the money. These details became clear during the first few minutes of an HBO television movie I saw about a man who was instrumental many years ago for the development of the first open heart surgery. The technique he pioneered would eventually save my life in 1991 when I had open heart surgery. Thus, this true story got my attention. Dr. Alfred Blaylock, for whom Vivian Thomas worked at Vanderbilt, experimented with novel surgical procedures on animals. He encouraged Vivian's interest in medicine by allowing him to conduct some of the operations in the lab. It was in Baltimore, 1943, that Dr. Blaylock became chairman of the Department of Surgery at Johns Hopkins, where he had obtained his medical degree. It was the #1 medical school in the country, and he brought Vivian with him. Dr. Blaylock had turned down a prestigious position in Detroit because they wouldn't let him bring Vivian along to work with him. Blacks were the hired help at the time and certainly not laboratory assistants. It was at Johns Hopkins that the two took interest in blue babies. Because of a heart deformity from birth, these babies were not getting enough oxygenated blood into their lungs. Their skin was pale, thus a blue cast, and the medical reference. These children were dying because of their heart circulatory problems, and there were no techniques developed at the time to make surgery on the heart possible. Where other doctors saw great risks in attempting open heart surgery, Dr. Blaylock and Vivian saw a great opportunity. And since Dr. Blaylock was busy with many of his other duties, much of the research was left up to Vivian. He experimented on the hearts of dogs and one day developed a new type of respirator. He was persistent and he was talented. Other doctors noticed, and even though he was black, they asked if they could watch some of his experimental operations on the hearts of animals. Together, Dr. Blaylock and Vivian eventually came up with the idea of creating a bypass artery that could literally turn the blue skin of babies into pink. In order to make sure that the bypass shunt would not be torn loose as the child's heart would grow, the two even came up with a new technique for stitching arteries. The parents of a little girl named Eileen agreed that she would be the first patient to undergo this radical new surgery. There were great dangers. Just before starting the operation, Dr. Blaylock had Vivian paged and brought to the operating room. Even though some of the Johns Hopkins administrators watching protested the presence of a black man in the operating room, Dr. Blaylock insisted that Vivian be there to talk him through the operation. Once the unique new process was completed, Eileen's face miraculously, I saw this on the film, it was incredible, miraculously turned from blue to pink as her blood began flowing normally for the very first time. A milestone in medical history had occurred. Suddenly, Johns Hopkins was overwhelmed with blue babies from all over the country whose parents wanted Dr. Blaylock to operate on their children. During one of their initial operations with the new techniques, Dr. Blaylock stated, "This is something the Lord made." Surgeons from all over the world made their way to Baltimore to learn about the procedure. Dr. Blaylock got worldwide recognition, unfortunately because he was black. Vivian was totally absent from all the publicity. He felt invisible to the world. Discouraged, he left Johns Hopkins and applied to go to Morgan College so he could get a college degree. Wanting to get through college quicker, he asked for credit for all of his experience with Dr. Blaylock. He was 35 at the time and had been working in his field for nearly 15 years. They told him that he would have to start from the beginning as a freshman. Deciding instead to try his hand at pharmaceutical sales, Vivian's wife, Clara, encouraged him to go back to the lab and to Dr. Blaylock. He did so, admitted that he had made a mistake by leaving, and told Dr. Blaylock that he liked the work. By 1964, Vivian became the director of laboratories at Johns Hopkins. Then Dr. Blaylock had an offer to teach at Columbia and wanted Vivian to go with him. Vivian chose to stay at Johns Hopkins, where he was now teaching young doctors. At that point, Dr. Blaylock commented to Vivian, "You haven't really lived unless you have a lot to regret." I have some regret, but I think we should remember not what we've lost, but what we've done. We saved plenty, didn't we? To which Vivian responded, "Yes, we did." Dr. Blaylock passed away soon thereafter in 1964. Vivian never took a course in medical school, but he changed medicine forever. The Board of Regents of Johns Hopkins University awarded Vivian an honorary doctorate for his incredible achievements. He passed away in 1985. This was such a heartwarming story. If you get a chance to watch this movie on HBO or to rent it, do so. Today, doctors in the United States perform over 175,000 heart surgeries each year. The success of those operations, including mine in 1991, is greatly due to the efforts of Dr. Blaylock and to Vivian Thomas. A white man and a black man worked together to turn pink into blue. So, if you get a chance again to rent this or to see it, it's called Something the Lord Made. I believe it too will touch your heart. So this is a dedication affirmation from this episode of Boaz Power TV. You may want to write this down. I am dedicating myself to something of great value. Isn't that great? I am dedicating myself to something of great value. Thank you for joining me. If you like these messages, and many people around the world find them highly beneficial, please do me a favor, forward this to 5 people you know. Suggest they go to my website, boazpower.com, and they too can subscribe to the free weekly Boaz Power TV broadcasts. You are special, you are unique, you are dedicated and destined for greatness. I see it in you. You are a champion. Have a powerful day.
This has been Boaz Power TV. To comment, see other episodes, or to subscribe to this free broadcast, go to our blog at boazpower.com. That's boazpower.com. We're here to take your life to the next level.